Alright, I wanted to do a video here on 3 vintage tents I've got. This is actually called the Expedition Tent. It's around a 1971, made by Holubar. That blue one was called the Chateau, again made by Holubar. And then this one here is about a 1978 Equinox Dome, and it was made by the Wilderness Experience. Now I'm going to go through each one of these and kind of show you about these vintage tents, and they're pretty neat. And I will say I'm up for selling these things. I would like to keep that blue one, the Chateau, but you know, if anybody out there is interested, I mean they are old, and they've spent the past 20-25 years in the nose of this boat, which was owned by the late Sam Rivers. He had this pretty sweet boat, and up in the nose of this thing, which is a sleeper, I found all of these tents and a parachute. Anyways, so let me show you this first one, the Expedition. It was about 1971 from Holubar, which was a Colorado company. And this is it with its little rain cover on it. Here you can see the little emblem they had, which is on its door. And yeah, it takes a lot to set this thing up with all these ropes coming out. And this one has the little snow flaps. I didn't know what these were for, but apparently you pile snow on top of this. If you can't do this in the snow, you can pile them on this. It would keep your tent from blowing away. Something that this one has that I haven't seen in any others is this little linen kind of interior. I really don't know what this linen thing's for, other than just if you got cabin fever, so to speak, and it just kind of made it a little more homey. I know it did come with the tent because it has its little logo right there, and all of this linen matches up with little hoops in the tent itself. And so you come through here. Another guy on YouTube made a nice video about this. I would have had no idea what this is for. This little zippered flap, which is where you could do your cooking. And the floor, you can see this tent, I mean, it's coming up. I'm sure that's all of waterproofing. It's an old tent. You can see where in that boat the mice got in it and ate a hole right there, which I'm sure could be fixed. It has this little cooking vent up top here. And then this, I was completely confused by this little flap here, which comes out about 2 foot to a little tube, and that was so you could connect your tents together. Pretty neat little feature. So I'll just go ahead and come on out this side. So that's the Expedition Tent, 1971 era. So this tent was called the Chateau by Holubar, Boulder, Colorado. And in the 1973 Backpack magazine, Holubar had this tent called the Royal Light 2, which was kind of its staple tent. And the 73 magazine, they said that the 1974 Chateau was a better design, and you know, it just took 4 stakes to hold this thing up. So I think that's pretty cool. An old tent. I plan on using it to be that old and still in this good a shape. And I would like to know if anybody, you know, if their dad took them on camping trips, or if they did any expeditions using these tents. That would really be neat to know here in 2013. Okay, so now this third tent that was in that boat was this Wilderness Experience tent. Let me get on in there. You can see it's from Chatsworth, California. And what a neat looking, I mean, it looks 80s, 70s, 80s for sure. That kind of, I guess they call it a geodesic dome, where the walls are pretty kind of vertical. And it does it, all of these poles, they're all the exact same length. And it's a trick to get it put together, I will say that. And you know, it's got some age. You can see there, you know, some of the stuff's come undone, but it's still up and standing and looking pretty good. Again, all of this weatherproofing inside of it came off of it. A lot of it has. I mean, it's almost all gone. There's a little bit of it left there. And you can see that little glass of wine in there. If you know anything about this company, that will make perfect sense. The Thompson brothers and their company, that was part of their advertising. And this tent was bought out by K2 in the early 80s. But again, I'd say about a 1978 to early 80s tent. I'm just holding it down with weights inside because I ran out of stakes. So yeah, this little geodesic dome here, Wilderness Experience. I think this one was called the Equinox Dome. It was the highest quality one. They had one with 6 poles that was fiberglass, and this one is the better quality one, has the aluminum poles. So there you have it, 3 vintage tents. And if anybody's ever stayed in these, and I'd love to hear a story about it, because they were just, like I say, in this cool old boat.